Hi everyone. Hi. Welcome to my stream. Welcome back. So this is episode 3 of the Canton cover-up, and we're going to talk about the people involved in this case. Who are all the people? Because there are so many of them. So let's dive in and take a look at the screen the slides that I have prepared for you today. So who's who in this case? There might be some faces you know, there might be some faces you don't. So let's go, oops, here we go. Okay, so first up, let's discuss the location. Location is everything, right? So if you're looking at the screen with me, my mouse is circling the waterfall bar and grill. So that is actually where one of the places that they are this evening in question, January 28th and 29th of 2022. That's when we're talking about. We talked about, the Commonwealth statement of case, and then we talked about the defense's case, or argument against the Commonwealth's case, I should say. And so that was episodes 1 and 2. So now we're going to talk about the characters. These are the all the people involved. So for me, it's going to be voiceover, but for you guys, you're going to see everything in front of you on the screen with a PowerPoint. So like I said, back to the Waterfall Bar and Grill. This is where our night, one of the locations of the night, we'll get into all the locations, but this is the location that they're in before they head to 34 Fairview Road, which I'm now circling with my mouse at the top of the screen. So as you can see, it's a 5-minute drive on Google Maps, 1.7 miles. So it's really not that far. And there's a couple of routes that Google actually highlighted for me. You can see here, and I believe Karen and John took this longer route because they were already parked on Washington Street. So I believe that they took this longer route to Washington Street, to Chapman, to Fairview, because remember, they were turning right onto Fairview when Ryan Nagel was turning left onto Fairview, because he was right behind them. All right, so that's the location, and here is actually an image of the house on the screen. This is 34 Fairview Road, and this is the Google Map image. And if you can see over here by the flagpoles, this is the area where John was found. So literally on their front lawn. But Brian and Nicole never came out of their house, and they didn't hear any of the commotion going on. Just saying. So anyways, that is where John's body was found, cold in the snow, lying face up, with his phone underneath him, no jacket. He had bruises and cuts on his arm, bruises and swollen eyes and black eyes and all sorts of things that it looked like he had been in a fight rather than hit by a car. And if he was hit by a car, he would have had low body injuries, and all of his injuries are from the waist up, mainly his face and his arms, hands. So anyways, next photo I'm going to show you is the gated fence that you can see actually aligns from the Albert residence backyard right to the place where John's body was found. So if there, it's a little hard to see in the image here, but when you go to Google Maps and you're actually like moving around, you can see that there is a gate right where the arrows are here, and it lines up right where John's body was found. So I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying. And here we have, we're going to talk about the homeowners. So we're going to do kind of a family tree of who's who of who. So please follow along with my pointer. I tried to make it trail so you could see. So right now we're talking about the homeowners. So Brian Albert and Nicole Albert are the ones that own this 34 Fairview home. They have two children, Caitlin Albert and Brian Albert Jr. I'm not sure how old Caitlin is, but I know Brian Albert was an adult at this point. I think he was celebrating his 22nd or 23rd birthday or something like that. And that's apparently why they were out and doing celebrating that night and drinking as much as they were. So, a couple of things about Brian Albert. He is a trained MMA fighter. He's also a Boston police officer. He's trained in like, what's the, I can't think of it now. It's like some special title that he had, but in like, gosh, I cannot remember. Anyways, moving on. So he's highly trained as a Boston police officer. What his training is in, we're not sure, but we do know he also has MMA fighting as a hobby. He posts about it on social media and things like that he does MMA, boxing and stuff like that. So, anyways, don't know too much about Nicole. Although we do know she was out that night, but really not a whole lot other than her statements to the police. And they also own a dog, Chloe. This is actually not a picture of Chloe. I think theirs was, Chloe's a lot lighter than that, but they had a German Shepherd named Chloe. So that's important to know in this case. So that is, all these individuals reside at 34 Fairview Road. Now we're going to go a little further out and take a look at who else was there that night. These people might just be related as friendships or whatnot. So we're going to take a look at some other names that come up in our case. So in the case of the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. So we already went over the homeowners and the German Shepherd and all that. So next, let's move down here. We have a friend, and that is Julie Nagel. And remember, Julie Nagel is the one that called, and she called her brother Ryan when they were still at the Waterfall Bar wanting to get picked up. So that leads me to siblings. Ryan Nagel is the brother who came with his friend in the F-150 pickup truck that his friend was driving. It was his friend's truck. Friend was driving. He was in the passenger seat. His wife was in the back seat. They went to go pick up Julie Nagel. Originally, they were told first that she was going to spend the night, and then later, I believe she told him that she would find another way home or something like that. So that part has changed, at least in the statements that are given, the narratives that are given by the individuals that night who do give statements, because not everybody gives a statement, or they don't give a statement until many, many, many months later, which is not good. Anyways, so we've got Julie Nagel and Brian Nagel, and they are siblings. So let's move up back to Nicole Albert here. She is sisters with Jennifer McCabe. So Jennifer McCabe and Nicole Albert Jennifer McCabe and Nicole Albert are sisters. Even I get confused saying all these names. Okay, so Jennifer McCabe is married to Matt McCabe. Jennifer is the one that was at the scene with Karen when they found John on the lawn of 34 Fairview Road. If you look down this way, we also see between Nicole and Jen McCabe, they have a mutual friend, Carrie Roberts, who was also at the scene with Karen and Jen. So it was the three women, Karen, Jen, and Carrie, who were in the car together in Carrie's car, driving around looking for John. And they found Karen is the only one that saw him in the snow, while Carrie and Jen said they didn't see him at all. All right, so we went through those. Next slide here, we've got a mutual friend also between Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts is John O'Keefe, and that's how he fits into this story. John O'Keefe and Carrie Roberts, I believe, are long time school friends, have been, have known each other since childhood or something like that. They go back a long ways. And Jennifer McCabe, I heard something on Melanie Little's stream that they're so the children that John brought was raising, his niece and nephew, they were friends with Jen McCabe's kids, Jen and Matt McCabe's kids. So that's kind of how we all fit in. That's how John fits into this group. And outside of this whole group, is Karen Reed. She is in a relationship with John. They've been together for at least 2 years. She spends the night at his house most nights. She helps raise the kids with him, but she does have her own home. She does, maintain some level of independence. Anyways, Karen does not really know anybody in this group. The only person that she really knew going in that night was John, and maybe, peripherally may have met some of these people in the past a couple of times, according to their statements. All right, so the next slide, we're zooming out even further, and we're going to go over to the left of the screen, and next to Brian Albert, homeowner Brian Albert, is Chris Albert. So Chris Albert, if you remember, owned the pizza shop that, according to some of the witnesses that night, had said that Karen was trying to convince Chris to go across the street and make some pizzas for everybody. But then we also heard from somebody else that she didn't want to go to the party because she had an upset stomach. So I don't know really what the truth is there. But anyways, Chris Albert owns a pizza shop. And yes, so he owns a pizza shop, and he's also a select boardman or selectman. I don't know how you say it, but the board of select men, whatever, it's their government in Canton, their official titles or roles, people that govern the board there at Canton. So Chris is on that selectman board, and he is married to Julie Albert. Julie Albert we begin our whole story with Julie. In the next episode, we're going to have a whole timeline. I'm going to go through the timeline bit by bit with you. And Julie Albert is actually the one who texts John first to tell him to come over to the Waterfall Bar. So it's Julie, and then later on it's Jen McCabe, and they're texting John to come over to the Waterfall Bar. And that happens at the very beginning of the night. So anyways, Julie Albert and Chris Albert are married, and a son of theirs named Colin Albert is someone that we really need to mention because he was also there that night. And there's a lot of things that are up in the air. So if you look and you follow my diagram to the arrows, Colin has a connection to John already. So let's talk about his connection to John, the victim. So they lived on the same block. I don't know exactly how far away, but I know they lived a few houses away or something along those lines, because There's a known ongoing feud between the two of them, and it's mostly because Colin would repeatedly trash John's lawn. He would throw beer bottles, empty cans, trash, whatever, and he had very little respect for John's property. So there was kind of an ongoing feud between the two of them. And another important thing to note is that there were inconsistencies regarding what time Colin leaves the house. So Colin and many of these other individuals are subpoenaed to a grand jury to testify. So we don't have all the details on that either, but we have some, some of the things have come out now with the grand jury testimony and the filings for the Karen Reed case. So, sorry, my dog is trying to get back under the covers, I think. She totally made me lose my train of thought. Anyways, so like I said, it's important to note that Colin and John had a known feud, and there were inconsistencies regarding what time he leaves the house. Colin did go to the grand jury, like I said, but we have inconsistent statements, and we're going to go over those statements and decide, who's telling the truth and who's not. But we're going to look through all of those statements together and see where the inconsistencies lie regarding Colin Albert's whereabouts that night, when it is suspected that John arrives at the house and then something happens to him. We don't know what yet. All right, so moving on to the next slide, we've got the Commonwealth, and I'm going to go over these kind of quickly. We've got Michael Morrissey here on the very end. He is the Norfolk County District Attorney, so he is head of the DA's office. Then we've got Adam Lally, who is the Assistant District Attorney, and he is the one that is prosecuting Karen Reed. So he's been in all the filings and the court hearings and everything, arguing for the Commonwealth. Next, and I forgot that in the last slide, I did forget someone here, is Trooper Proctor, who is possibly, most likely, a longtime family friend. And he knows the Alberts and the McCabe's. Allegedly, I'll say all of this is alleged. All of this is speculation and theory based on court documents and statements, verified information. Anyways, so Trooper Proctor, Michael Proctor, is the possible longtime family friend of the Alberts, who, if that is true, then it is a huge conflict of interest for him to be investigating the death of another Boston police officer in front of the home of Brian Albert. Also, Trooper Proctor works for the Massachusetts State Police. So not Boston, not Canton Police. He is with the Massachusetts State Police. So that brings me back to him. He is right here. That is Michael Proctor, Trooper, Massachusetts State Police. And this picture is actually a picture that I cropped out the children in it, but I believe it's Jen McCabe's children are in the photo, and this was something posted on Facebook, and he made some kind of comment about like his family. So, Michael Proctor, making this statement like these are very close family or friends or whatever. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it implied that they're definitely not just what would you say? losing my words here. I'm sorry, my throat is dry. Hold on one second. They're not acquaintances. It would appear that they're not acquaintances by all these um, posts. There was a post by, I believe it was Trooper Proctor's mother, who said the Alberts are like a second family to them. And then this post, as it was saying, this picture of Proctor was, it cropped out his the kids, but those were Jennifer McCabe's kids in the picture. But they deny it to this day. They say that they don't know one another, but there's actual proof that they do. So Ken Mello, we'll move on to Ken Mello. He is a special prosecutor for the DA's office. We don't really know what that is. It's just kind of a special fancy title. I don't know why he has this special fancy title, but he does. And what that means and what his role is, we don't really know, but it has been stated in a some kind of press statement that he doesn't have to answer basically to Michael Morrissey. So he has free reign to go off and prosecute nilly-willy, willy-nilly, whatever. All right, so the next person on our slide here is Yuri Buchanek, and that's Sergeant Buchanek, I don't know, heard it both ways. So he is with the Massachusetts State Police also. So him and Proctor did a lot of the interviewing and investigating together. And then finally, over here we have the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, and she is the Associate Justice of Norfolk County Court, and she has been overseeing the Karen Reed trial. The defense team has asked for her to be recused, and she will not recuse herself. They don't want her in the trial because she has definitely shown some bias towards the prosecution in some of her rulings, and there is a conflict of interest because I can't remember, but she does know somebody. It's they're all like related in some way or another. It's the whole, Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. They're all kind of family, friends that they've known each other forever, and they all have each other's backs. All right, so this is the defense team. These are the attorneys that Karen Reed has on her side that are fighting tooth and nail for her. Alan Jackson with Worksman Jackson and Quinn in Los Angeles. So she went out and she got herself a high-powered LA attorney. And she also has David Yannetti from the Yannetti Defense Law Firm in Boston, and he is awesome too. They're together, these two make a really great pair, and if you watch any of their hearings or read any of their filings, you'll know that they mean business and they believe in Karen's innocence. Not just that she's not guilty, but that she's factually innocent. They said that in a press conference. She is factually innocent, which not too many attorneys say about their clients because you can't be 100% certain about anything. But this case, it just really stinks. So let's move on. So other YouTube personalities that are talking about this case, and I'm hoping more and more start to, because the word about this case needs to get out. It is so unfair and so not right. So Aiden Turtleboy Carney, he is probably one of the loudest, most vocal about this case. He has been covering it for a long time. I actually got hooked into this case. Like, I was watching it from afar, just seeing the different hearings and stuff happening, the motions that were taking place that court TV would report on. But then one day, Turtle Boy, this guy named Turtle Boy, whoever that is, was on a court TV segment early in the morning talking to my boy Vinny Politan, And I was listening to what he was saying about Karen Reed, and it blew my mind, the things that he had to say and the way that he just gives a no BS type of way of presenting the material. And uh, he he is an inspiration to me, and he is a good portion of why I started my channel, or what pushed me to start it, because of what he is going through now. He has been reporting, yes, reporting. He is a journalist. Anyone is a journalist. Anyone with a voice, anyone with a pen. We're all journalists. Anyone that can take video of themselves talking, you're a journalist. Anyways, there's no definition of journalist, legally speaking. So Aiden has been reporting on this story for a very long time, and because he's gotten so close to the truth, because he's uncovered so many things about the potential corruption in Canton and the way that this case was investigated and how poorly it was investigated, he's really brought a light to that, and he's gotten so close to it that in order to get him to stop, like the Commonwealth wanted him to stop so badly that they started to abuse the law and try to use it in a way that it shouldn't be used. And they're claiming that because he has an aggressive style of reporting, and he goes up to his sources, or individuals that he's reporting on, he'll go up to them and he'll speak to them and he'll ask them questions. But people don't like questions being answered or asked of them when they don't want to answer them. So, especially when you've got something that you're trying to hide. So they tried to get orders of protection against him, which failed in civil court. And then anyways, I don't want to get into the whole thing because I'm going to do such a bigger deep dive on Aiden. But right now, where he's at, he's been indicted with charges of witness intimidation, and I believe he's also set up in this latest development where he was supposedly with an ex-girlfriend, and she had become a witness in this case, in the Karen Reed case, but he didn't know she was a witness. So now he saw her in that time frame when they served her, and he didn't even know, or not served her, when she had the PO, but he didn't even know. And he went to go see her, and then because he violated the PO and witness protection or witness intimidation, he is now behind bars and has been since Christmas, which is totally unfair and just garbage. So go to his channel, subscribe. Everybody subscribed to Aiden Turtleboy Carney to learn more about the Karen Reed case. Go back to old episodes, watch them. They're excellent. He goes into such deep dives about all the individuals in this case and all the little minute details. He's abrasive. I'm gonna tell you that right now. He has a style about him that not everybody likes, but he cuts through the BS and he tells it like it is. And sometimes, I don't always agree with everything he has to say, but I do appreciate that style of reporting, of telling us, not being afraid to tell us the truth when other outlets might. So anyways, I give him so much credit for that. But anyways, let's move on, because I'll do so much more on Aiden, and I wasn't really prepared to go into anything on him. I just kind of started spewing stuff off. So anyways, my next individual here, who is a YouTube individual, Brian with LTL True Crime. So let's talk live true crime. He's local, I believe. He's a local boy. So he actually, so is Aiden. Aiden is too. They, so they can both give kind of a perspective. I know Aiden is quite close. I don't know how close Brian is, but he also, is from that area, and he gives a good perspective on um, just on yeah, on a lot of things. He's got some interesting takes on the case, as well as the Will from the Glare, who is, I would say, has also a similar vibe to Aiden in that he just kind of tells you like it is, no BS, and he doesn't care if he hurts your feelings. They just don't. And that's okay. Some people are like that, and I appreciate that from people because I don't like being lied to. So, anyways, hold on. Let me take one sip. All right, so next on my list is MLS, which stands for Making Law Simple. I can't think of his name, and I feel so bad. I think it's Mike or Scott or something. I feel horrible, but I couldn't find it. Anyways, he gives a legal perspective, and he's also in the local area, so he knows some of the law there. And then we have attorney Melanie Little, who I've been watching her channel for, I don't know, I've been watching her for a while. She's pretty awesome. She gives legal breakdowns of all of the legal documents and court cases. She did an awesome coverage on the Maya Kowalski case. She gave, I think, updates every day for what happened in trial, and she explained everything so well. She's awesome. She makes things easy to understand for us lay folks. So I suggest going and subscribing to all of these individuals if you want to learn more about the Karen Read case. They're also great for just other topics and entertainment alike. So give them a try. All right. Up next, I do want to credit Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney, with the Free Karen Read movement. I really think that he helped to spread this because not too many reporters were talking about this case, and it seemed the way that it was being reported and the way that these the investigative documents were written, it seemed like a cut and dry case. Karen did it. She backed him over out of a fit of rage or whatever. She did it, and end of story. But when you start looking at the details, none of that makes sense. So Aiden got people to look and listen and start to see that there is more than meets the eye, and we need to start asking these questions and dig deeper into these institutions and find out what they're up to. They need to have oversight. It's important that they have oversight, or else chaos can ensue and innocent people can go to prison. Innocent people could even be framed to go to prison, which a lot of people have the belief that she is being framed. Karen Read is being framed to go to take the fall of John's death. Well, anyways, so Karen, you can see here, Karen and her attorney Alan Jackson are walking up the courthouse steps, and all these people are outside holding signs, picketing, saying, "Google, how long does it take to die in the cold?" They've got Justice for Karen, The True Culprits, Way Beyond Reasonable Doubt, Cover Up. People are out there. Aiden's has been always out there with his bullhorn, and people thought that the movement was Aiden, that Aiden was the only thing keeping the movement going, but it's not true, because even with him sitting in jail, he didn't have to do anything, and people showed up for the last hearing, which was just this past week. People showed up to Karen's hearing. There were probably more than ever. And they stood all outside the courthouse, uh, all down the street, camera crews, everything. So this case has really picked up in momentum, and Aiden started it, but the heart and soul of their town is finishing it. And I just think that that is so awesome. And I get chills, like good vibes, when I think about how everyone is coming together to support one another in this community because they see an injustice, and I love it. All right, so next, moving on. I don't love that there's an injustice, but I love that everyone is fighting for the truth. And here, you might hear of the Canton Nine in some case, when you hear of this case, and when you hear of the Karen Reed case, the Canton Nine and Aidan Carney are going to go, hand in hand with the what happened to John O'Keefe, because it's a movement. It's a huge thing now, and it's not stopping. So the Canton Nine, there were 9 peaceful, civil folks on a nice, I don't remember if it was a Saturday or Sunday, but it was a weekend. I remember it when it happened. It was a nice day. They're just standing out there with their signs, picketing, saying Colin Albert was in the house, free Karen Reed, free Karen Reed. Some of them had like a free Turtle Boy. This kid right here, he was a minor, so keep that in mind. So anyways, they were all peacefully gathered across the street, but they were on the street that Chris Albert's pizza shop is on. So they were kind of across the street and sort of, I guess, within eyesight, but not, I don't know. But it doesn't matter anyways, really. Anyways. So this day, they're out there peacefully protesting, and police come up to them and they start giving them a hard time, hassling them about their signs, saying that they can't protest there and they need to move, and they need to give them their IDs and all this and whatever the individuals that were there were like, no, we're not giving you our IDs, we're not giving you our names, we're going, goodbye. Like, okay, fine, we're not fighting it, it's not worth it. So then, so police try to intimidate them, and this is their First Amendment right that they're exercising, and they have every right to exercise it. Yet, there is a law that says something about intimidating witnesses. You can't harass, harm, even if it's like emotional harm, they feel threatened, all this stuff of witnesses in a case. And because the individuals that are quote unquote witnesses of that night that went to the grand jury, in my opinion, they should be suspects, not witnesses. But the Commonwealth is stating that they are witnesses, even though none of them say they saw anything. They didn't say that they saw Karen back into John. They didn't see anything until later that morning when Karen found him. But anyways, so they are supposedly witnesses, and there's a statute that is actually against the law, but the way that it's written has something to do with, harassing witnesses. So they have completely turned the words around, and it's just, it feels like an injustice the way that they are using this particular statute, which is meant to keep people from harassing and intimidating witnesses, to change their testimony. But no one's doing that. No one's harassing anybody to change their testimony. We just want the truth. We want to free Karen Reed. And is that so hard to understand? But anyways, so this statute is supposedly what statute that they were violating. So this is the key point here that I think is really interesting. Ken Mello, who's the special prosecutor, remember the special prosecutor who doesn't have to answer to the DA, he is the one that called the police that morning or whatever that day to get the police to go over there to talk to the protesters. Well, you can even hear, like, there's a recording now that's been leaked about it, and I'll have to find it and make sure that I have it available for you guys. But there is a call that was leaked of Ken Mello calling the police and he calls back and says, "Oh, hey, there's this statute here. Why don't we go get him now?" And that was pretty much, I mean, not exact words, but that was pretty much the gist of it. So, anyways, what happened was they, the protesters split. Cops did not get their plates or anything like that. Or, I'm sorry, their names or anything like that. But then they went into the parking lot and got their plate numbers, their license plates. So they went and they mailed subpoenas or summons to all of them for witness intimidation. So now these 9 individuals all have to face witness intimidation charges because the individuals that were in the house don't want to talk about it, or the individuals that uh, are supposed witnesses don't want to talk about it. And if we ask them to tell us the truth, they don't, they find that intimidating. So it's only intimidating if the truth is going to put you in a situation that you don't want to be in. And I'll say that. I'll leave it at that. All right, so Karen Reed. Who is Karen Reed, the defendant? Well, she teaches finance at Bentley University, which is her alma mater. So she went there and has a degree there. From there, she has over 25 years of experience in financial services. And what was I going to say about that? Right now, it appears that she has been suspended from her full-time position that she has had for a while now. I can't remember how long it was, but so it appears that she's kind of on a suspension or on hold, like she's on hiatus. They don't want to have her working there if she's a convicted felon, but she's not a convicted felon yet, so I don't know why she's on leave. But anyways, that's what they said in some kind of a statement, and the university said that they were not going to make any comments on an active investigation. So anyways, I don't know what that means, but it probably means that she is, I'd say, without a paycheck right now. And she's fighting some really hefty legal bills to get herself out, or to find herself not going to prison for a very long time. So she was co-parenting John's niece and nephew together with John. She also was the one that performed CPR on John. So that's important because she even says in a press conference that she was the only one that tried to save John's life that night. She was performing CPR. There was another leaked audio of a phone call where Karen was calling John frantically, trying to leave him, or trying to get a hold of him, and it went into his voicemail when she found him. And she threw her phone in the car and runs out screaming to go and try to save him. And she's screaming to Jen and Carrie to call 911. So in the car, Jen McCabe is on the phone with 911, but you can hear on John's voicemail what Jen is saying back to the dispatcher. You can't hear the dispatcher at all. It's just Jen talking to the dispatcher, but it's really eerie because she's talking in this very calm manner, and she's not like panicking at all. And she's just like, yeah, a man is unconscious on the lawn at this house. She doesn't say my friend. She doesn't say an officer. She doesn't say anything about him other than a man is unconscious in the snow. And that's it. And this was her friend, supposedly. So, anyways, Karen, as you see, Karen on the screen, is facing charges for second-degree murder and for leaving the scene of an accident. So they are saying that she was intoxicated and she left the scene of the accident. So they're charging her for that too, because, yeah. So she's currently out on bail, and her trial, this trial right now is set for March 12th. So we'll see if it gets there. A lot of people are speculating that it won't. There is even an FBI probe that is happening right now, going on with the investigation of the investigation. So that's what they're investigating, the investigation of this case. The FBI is, supposedly. So hopefully, maybe we won't go to court and Karen can get all of her money back from her, not from her attorneys, but for having to pay her attorneys. I would hope she can get that reimbursed from the city of Canton, or whoever messed up there. Let's see. Next slide. This is my final slide. And this is why we're here. This is the victim, who is John O'Keefe. He was a Boston police officer. He was a boss. Sorry, I don't have my quote ready. So he is a Boston police officer in good standing for at least 16 years, they said. He's a loving uncle who took in his niece and his nephew after his sister passed away, and then his brother-in-law passed away. So they've passed away like within a year apart from one another. So it was I'm sure it was shocking and tragic, and he took them in. I know the nephew was still like an infant. I think he was a toddler, like 2 years old or something. So he had them, and he had them for a while, almost 8 years. So, hold on, I'm trying to get my note here. All right, so he was invited to 34 Fairview by Jen McCabe. So she sent him the text to go there, or said it in the bar, I don't know. And then when he messaged her, he's, after they just left Waterfall Bar, he goes and he asks, he sends a text to Jen saying where to, and then she called him back, I guess, and they spoke. So she must have told him 34 Fairview Road. All right, so Jen invited him. He was found, this was close to 6 in the morning, and Karen had dropped him off around midnight, 12:30. So it had been quite a few hours. He was found to be cold to the touch with no signs of breath. He had sustained several cuts to his arm. Hold that thought. 2 black eyes, a cut to his nose, and a 2-inch laceration to the back of his head. So the cuts on his arms, these have been described in multiple ways. They've been described as abrasions and as lacerations. So an abrasion is like a scrape, like you scrape your knee, and that's an abrasion. You're only skin surface deep. But a laceration is, you're cutting into multiple layers of skin. Your skin is torn by something. So that is kind of a discrepancy there, because I believe the autopsy said that it was abrasions versus lacerations, but in some of the police reports it was lacerations. So it's, they go back and forth. Everything's inconsistent there. And lastly, he was dearly loved by his family and friends. So I'm going to read a couple quotes here from or I'm just going to read straight from a Boston 10 article called Girlfriend Accused in Boston Police Officer's Death. So O'Keefe's family released a statement Wednesday, this was shortly after he had passed, afternoon, saying that they are heartbroken over his death. Quote, John was not only a dedicated police officer, he was an exemplary guardian, son, brother, uncle, and friend, and we were so fortunate to have him as a part of our lives, end quote, it said. Again, quote, when John's sister passed away, and then her husband did as well a short time later, John welcomed the opportunity to raise his beloved niece and nephew and build a home and a life around their needs. People talk about someone who would give you the shirt off their back, but that was truly who John was, and it is heartbreaking for us to suddenly be talking about him in the past tense, end quote. So the family added that they appreciated the outpouring of support that they have received, but they asked for privacy as they mourned for their loss. The Boston Police Department released a statement Sunday saying that it is with deep regret that they announced the death of O'Keefe, an active duty police officer and 16-year department veteran. Quote, John was a kind person, dedicated to his family, and will be greatly missed by his coworkers and anyone who had the privilege of meeting him. Today, the Massachusetts State Police and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office arrested the person responsible for John's death, the Boston Police Department said in a statement Tuesday night. At this time, we are stunned and saddened and offer whatever support we can to John's family. Boston Police peer support will be available to assist department members in need of emotional support. Okay, so that was coming from a excerpt from Boston 10. So he was a very kind, loving individual. He took on his niece and nephew instantly, welcomed them with loving arms. And that's something that we should remember about John and who he was, because I'm sure he would like to be remembered for the good things that he did. And I'm sure he saved many people as well in the line of duty and was a hero to many. So, on that note, I will give you guys some time back in your day, hopefully. And let me know what you guys think regarding this case. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. What inconsistencies stick out to you? There are so many to me, and I could do a whole episode on inconsistencies alone. So let me know what sticks out about this case to you and what you want to hear more. All right, let me know. Have a good one. Bye.